Good evening YouTube, Ian here from Coolice Charge Case and Power Supplies. I've got another small case I'd like to show you actually. Now this one is a little bit different to my usual theme. Obviously Coolice charge cases, this one isn't a charge case, in fact this one is a discharge case. It will be going over to the US. Michael Getter, he asked me, he said, Ian, I'd like to have a couple of the SkyRC BD200 discharge units, but I'd like them in a small case. Can you do it? So I said, yeah, I can. I'd like to give it a go. You'd be the first customer for me to do this with. So the case you see in front of you here, which is better looking than my face, admittedly, is the first case in this lineup. So I won't waffle on too much about it. Obviously the plan is I'm going to open the lid in a minute, show you inside, and obviously then talk you through a few of the features and what I've done and how I've done it. At the end of the video then, as you've potentially come to expect from me already, you'll see some photographs of the deck and the various holders that I've created and how I've done things and stuff, so you can understand how I've achieved what I've done, and you'll get a better understanding of this. But anyway, before we carry on, I have connected a battery in there at the front. Basically there's two discharge units in here, so we've got the one on the left hand side and the one on the right, and because obviously I can't hold the phone and plug this in at the same time without the case scooting across my desk, I've connected the battery in, ready to go. It's just an old rubbish one I've had from years ago, but it'll do the job for this. So start with the top. Got my usual plaque. It's upside down because I'm looking at it. I orientate those the right way so that when the lid is open people can actually read it, so that works quite good. So let me open it up, and there we go. There's the two BD200s. They're at an angle for two reasons really. This one, I wanted to try and get the display of each unit basically looking at you when you're actually standing above it. They're already sloped, so when they're sat obviously on a tabletop with their feet on the bottom of the casing, you do look at them a little bit more. But being in the case, I wanted to tilt them back a little bit, which I've done. There was two reasons for that. One, the depth of this case. Due to the small size of this case, there isn't much depth to play with, so I had to be crafty in that the angle I had them at didn't put this top lip too high, and in fact it did the first couple of iterations of 3D printed holders that I created, which again you'll see in the photographs potentially at the end, because I did a couple. The first version of it was a complete one-piece unit, so the one I've got now is two sides, is split into two halves. The first one I did was literally a complete shell that grasped and held the underneath of the discharge unit. So I made one for this side and one for that side. Then when I actually put them, a little bit of an oversight on my part, when I actually put them in the case, I realised they weren't going to fit side by side. They just worked out about 10 to 15 mil too wide. So had to scrap that idea. And went then with a two-piece holder. That one worked, but the problem with those ones was then the height of the discharge units then was just that little bit too high, and the lid wouldn't close by about 4 or 5 mil. So I had to extend them down further more, and obviously then in doing so also I reduced the original angle that I had them at, so the angle then became a little bit shallower. The dischargers then sat a little bit lower, and of course then now they go inside the case with the lid closed, and there's actually about 3 or 4 mil or more deflection of the lid before you can actually feel them hit the top of this. So that's perfect. It's worked out really good. The other reason for obviously angling them was just as you're standing or sitting there kind of thing. I thought the displays obviously looked a little bit better when you're readable when you're looking at them kind of thing. So I ran with that. So anyway, so we got the two in there, we squeezed them in. The cabling, obviously again a little bit tight, there isn't much room there, so the cables come out of obviously the left hand side of each unit. So this half of the cradle here, I've actually scalloped out the back side there in line with where the cables come out of the right hand side unit, so you've got more room for the cables to come out and curl and go downwards and then come out the way. This side then, they literally just about curved just inside before the case side there kind of thing, so it all fits quite nice, but it's tight. You haven't got much room to play with there. Each of these units can be connected to a PC via a micro USB connection. So with them obviously mounted in the case like this, you wouldn't be able to get the USB in. So I've added in the extension cord, so it brings the micro USB connections up and onto the deck just behind each unit, so you can easily then plug it in and do firmware updates, I think. And also there is a monitoring app, I think. I might be wrong, I've not really delved in too deep with that. I just created the case and turned it on actually yesterday. Actually, up until this point I hadn't even tried one of the discharge units. So we've done that, we've created the holders, that's worked out quite well. The other issue I had, or should I say there was two other issues then, with the split holders, which again you'll see in the photographs at the end, and the angle of these units, it then left a gap here, and you can actually see the difference in the 3D printed parts, because obviously we've got one half here of the cradle and one half on this side, and they're printed from this side upwards, so the layer lines are going in a different direction. And then I then needed to fill a void here. There was a void that was obviously going into the case, which was okay, but I didn't really like that. I wanted to fill it, so I created then a third piece, which obviously then clamps to the mount between the mounting screws at the back here, and obviously then just is angled so it slopes back and fills that gap. Hence, so you can see obviously the different colour, because that was obviously printed in a different orientation to the main holders, but it blends in quite nicely, makes a little feature of it. And obviously then that's on both sides. Again, the pictures at the end of this video will show how that's in place and how it fits there quite nicely, and obviously then at the same time avoids the USB port at the back here. So that's quite good. The other issue then I had, which was I tried, basically these units are new, so I didn't want to do anything to them that was destructive to the casing, e.g. drill holes in them for obviously mounting screws to securely mount them to the holder brackets. So yesterday, and I did a video and deleted it and obviously making another one now, I used about 4 layers of 1mm thick double-sided tape, because the feet on the bottom of these units stand roughly about 4mm tall. So I thought if I use some double-sided tape to the right thickness, so about 4mm, little strip on this side, little strip on that side, they'll then hold inside the cradle brackets, and it would be quite nice. But while it did hold it, there was just a little bit of rocking motion visible in there, and that was because in the end the double-sided tape was slightly thicker than the spacer feet on the bottom of the unit, so that didn't work out in my favour. So with the brackets, I'd already designed into them mounting holes, 2 in each bracket, thinking because they were now separate units, if I needed to add a bracing bar or a connecting bar across the bottom of them to stop them opening out, to stop them flapping about, I could do. So I put some holes in, which again you'll see in the photographs. As it turned out, I don't need to put a bracing bracket in there to link the two halves together. They're more than rigid enough. So what that allowed me to do then in the end, I had a brainstorming session today to try and figure out, right, how can I hold these discharge units in place, but at the same time not do anything destructive to the casing themselves in case they need to go back for warranty. So I used the laser to create 4 mounting feet or mounting plates. So they're handed, and again you'll see it in the pictures. So I double-sided one of those onto each side of the discharger underneath, and they've got tapped holes in that I have then lined up with the holes I'd pre-designed into the charging cradle holders, or into the discharge cradle holders, should I say. I keep saying charger, I keep getting confused. And now then, that has worked really well. The discharge units are actually held really nicely. So the little mounting plates are double-sided at the bottom of the discharge units, and then that allows me then to insert and screw in a small M5 by 8mm screw into the bottom of them to secure the discharger to the mounting brackets. So that's worked out really well. That was one thing I've done today, and that's just finished the case off nicely, so I'm pleased with that. Again, photographs at the end will explain that a little bit more, how I've done that, and that's worked out really good, so I'm quite pleased. So There isn't really much else, unfortunately, for me to show you on this. Obviously, the battery is connected to this one. Originally, when I plugged it in, I was expecting it to automatically turn on, and when it didn't, I was kind of worried to start with, but it doesn't. You have to press the button, turns it on, and then it's obviously, I think that is actually showing you the voltage you can discharge to, or the discharge voltage, which we don't want 11 volts. It's a 3S pack. So let's go down a bit. Let's set it to 10 volts from now. 10 volts, accept. Now it goes to the amperage, so how many amps do I want to discharge at any given time? So let's put it 1.1 amps. I think this can go up to 20 amps, but there's no point going up to that with this little 3S pack. I don't think it would like it too much. Presses it. I think now we press and hold. Yep, we do, and then it starts. Oh yeah, there we go. So when in motion, I think that's the current pack voltage on there, and it also changes, I think. Yeah, so we've got current pack voltage. Oh yeah, and how many milliamp hours come out, it alternates, and obviously then the amperage then that is being drawn off the pack at this moment in time, which is 1.1 amp. And then that will go down to the set point that I set it to, which is 10 volts, and then I'm guessing beep or switch off, and then your packs are then discharged. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to cancel it. Oh, stop. There we go. Yep. Oh yeah, there we go. See, I'm learning as I go along. And that's it. Obviously, I think then you have to then discharge. Pulling it out should be easy. Yep, it is. And obviously then I can come down. Again, I've used one of my 3D printed holders, connector holders for the XT60 at the front. Originally this was a single one, and then obviously I've duplicated it, moved it across, and combined the two to create a twin output there with the 3 then mounting screws, and it's come out quite neat. So that's in my file section. Again, a lot of, as before, I think I've said it before, any and all of my 3D printed holders that I've created, obviously I'm not releasing the files for people to print them themselves, which obviously would be quite nice to do, but I've obviously spent a lot of time creating these for my own business and my own purposes. But they are obviously available to buy pre-printed parts, so if anything you see here you would like for your own builds, you know, for your own DIY case builds or discharge case builds, please give me a shout. But there we go. It's quite a nice case, nice and simple. I must admit I haven't weighed it, so I can't comment on the weight, but looks quite nice and simple. Close the lid, close the catches, Mr. Catch, and you're way to go. 2 dischargers ready to go. Once again, I thank you very much for taking the time to watch my videos. Please like, share, subscribe, and if you're in the market for a charge case, please give me a shout. Take care of yourselves. Bye bye.